Hello.
Hi, I can hear you. Just don't say anything. We'll be joining soon. Just mute your mic as well. Mm, it's still loading to go live. With the campaign. Okay, pardon me, another technical challenge there. So I was saying we are going to have an interesting conversation, and it's a continuation from the conversation we had last week, which was the role of the media in promoting women's leadership. Particularly, the discussion for today is very interesting because it comes with a good conversation that the country is having right now about the campaigns. Yesterday, the ECZ CEO, Mr. Shindano, gave an announcement that we are not going to be having physical campaigns, and this is to respect the COVID-19 rules, and also just to observe the health measures that are being put in. Fair to say, it's a way to fight the COVID-19, and knowing that it's an election year, a lot of people will be gathering, and this is the only way they can tame it down. Welcome to all our viewers. We'll just be for some of our panelists to join. Uh, yeah. Okay, so while we wait for them, we can have a brief chat about the pronouncement that was made yesterday and how the world is also relating to it. Now, we need to understand that Zambia is not going to be the first country that is going to put in such rules as of elections. We are aware that since the COVID-19 started, we've still had a good number of elections around the world, and we will get to see how they managed to work with the elections while trying to observe the COVID-19 rules. Among the countries, we had one of the biggest elections that the world always looks forward to, and that's the United States general elections. But apart from that, we still had other countries, including in our African continent, who had to hold their elections still preserving their laws by obeying the constitution and holding the elections. I think some months ago, the big discussion was, were we going to have the elections or not? And I must also say that this wasn't only a discussion that we were having as a country. but there are also the conversations that were being had in other countries as well. We'll check on a few countries that we can learn from, and also, I believe these are also the countries that the ECZ also learned from. We must understand that we're not going to be the first ones. We're just among those that made the decision. So before I came through, I was reading an interesting article that was written after an observation that was done in some of the countries in the world, and the total together were 52. And in these countries, they all had certain restrictions about the elections. Okay, I can see Madam. You guys will have to leave my room. Okay, we are back again. Another technical fault. You have to forgive us, but the conversation will still go on. I can see Ms. Savoy has managed to get through, so I think we can now start the conversation. We are already 16 minutes late, which is not good for our program. Madam Savoy, welcome back to our conversation. We had an interesting one last week, and we're going to have another interesting one this week with the pronouncements that happened yesterday. Looking forward to see how we are going to interrogate this conversation and see how we can make resolutions out of it that are going to help the women in the campaign. I also see Ms. Favorite. The Chiengi adopted young MP. Congratulations to you. So we won't take much of the time. We're already late. Good evening, Madam Savoy.
Good evening, Mumbi. How are you? Can you hear me? Good evening. How are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello?
Ms. Savoy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Where's my hand? Yeah. Yes.
Okay, this is going to be a very interesting challenge. I've never thought I would find myself in such a technical challenge. Madam Imboy, are you able to get me? If you can, please say something.
Yes, I can hear you very loud and clear. I can hear you very loud and clear. Yes. Let me try to type something.
Okay. Okay. This is going to be a tricky one. we will still have to wait for our panelists to come through. But I must say that it's a very awkward situation to be online and to be on mute at the same time. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. I don't know how many times I'm going to apologize for this, but you have to bear with us. We're having a very, 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 very bad internet connection, and unfortunately, I'm not the only one, but also my panelists. I'm just going to ask the panelists if they can hear me. They should say something so that we should know if we should head it off or we still have a few challenges to deal with. Nalishebo, can you hear me?
Yes, Mumbi, I'm able to get you.
Nalishebo, are you able to hear me?
Yes, Mumbi, you
say
are
something
audible.
if you can hear me.
You are audible, Mumbi. I'm able to get you.
Even I can get both of you. I think it's Mumbi who's not hearing me.
Madam Imboyle, are you able to hear me? If you can, please say something.
Yes, I can. Very loud and clear. Very loud and clear.
Okay, thank you, Nalishebo. Okay, so since you are the first one and you're already in, and the rest of the people have to deal with the internet problem, we will have to start the conversation with you.
Oh, the host has gone. Oh, the network is so bad today.
Yeah, the network is bad today.
By the time she comes back, she'll find that we'll be the ones interviewing her instead. No, this is so bad.
Yeah.
I wonder what's going on. Mm-hmm. It is 23 minutes past now.
Yeah. Ish.
By the way, are people watching?
I should think so.
Okay.
I'm I'm unable to see if people are watching.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, since the host is not here, as we
I
wait
think
for
she's
her.
connecting back.
I'm
She's
back.
Okay.
back.
I was about to
Um,
do your job.
you should have done it. I couldn't do it. In a moment of shock, I'm just okay. So this is how journalists feel. I've just realized it's actually funny. It's funny when you're not funny when you're doing the job. Oh my. Okay, ladies, thank you very much for joining in.
Mhm,
We're sending another apology. I don't know if this is the 10th, 20th time to our
mhm.
viewers, but thank you for sticking around. And we are ready to start the conversation. We hope we don't get stuck anywhere. Should I get stuck? I've already seen Roy is geared up to take it up as soon as I fall out of out of touch with everybody. You are all welcome, ladies. I was just
Thank you,
giving a
Mombi.
before we started the conversation to say last week we started this conversation and unfortunately not everything was exhausted. But as if Mr. Shindano knew that we stopped somewhere, he made a very interesting pronunciation that will force us to get back to the conversation and see how we can be able to sort ourselves out. An interesting pronouncement that was made yesterday, ladies. I'm sure we're all aware that Mr. Shindano gave an announcement that we are not going to be having physical campaigns, big gatherings such as rallies are not going to be allowed. And we are all aware that these types of events play a very big role in our campaigns, especially our government politics. I wouldn't know if that would be the case for everyone. But we all are also aware that there are other methods that we use. But one thing is for sure, we may all have to run back to the media, in as much as we are going to talk about returning to some of the less groupings of discussing with our people during our campaigns. We know that no one would manage to talk to the 17 million candidates door-to-door campaigns. It's
Yeah.
very possible. So meaning it throws us back to media. Now, earlier before we had these interruptions, I gave a brief analysis of what has been happening in the world since the COVID started. We know that around this period, it's a year of elections. We were keeping our eyes on one of the biggest elections in the world, which is the United States elections. And we also wanted to say, how are they going to do it? How are they going to work with the COVID-19 measures? I read an interesting research which was done on 52 countries that have held elections so far since the start of the COVID-19. And the interesting thing is that all of them actually did put up some sort of measures, and among them was banning big gatherings. But also the interesting part is to see that even in most of those countries, those rules were not obeyed. But away from that, we still have to remember that media is going to be a big platform. So just getting into it, ladies. I think I would want to first get reactions about yesterday's pronouncements that was made by Mr. Shindano and what it's going to mean to us. And I was asked that Madame Dante be the first one to answer this question. And I'm choosing her particularly because, again, she holds a very interesting position in her political party. And I think more than ever, she now has a very big task at hand. Madam Dante, you can give your reaction.
I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Now, yeah.
Madam Dante, just hold your thought. We can't hear you. Just hold your thought. Okay, you can speak now.
Yeah, and I was saying that it is, first of all, it is normal that ECZ does recognize that there is COVID, and therefore they have to ensure the safety of the citizens, and also to try to ensure that they do not enhance the transmission of COVID-19, knowing too well how deadly COVID has been. I think we are aware that people are even comparing COVID now to almost, is it the First or Second World War, looking at the number of the people that have died. But I want to say that whilst that was said by ECZ, I think we need to take note of how the country, vis-a-vis government, the Ministry of Health, has taken care of COVID in this country, has managed COVID in this country. Not too long ago, even just a day before, ECZ made the pronouncement. We are aware about a large crowd that gathered in Kampala. Now the question is, are we going to refer to COVID only when it comes to elections, gathering, and then we take it that there is no transmission of COVID, or COVID does not exist when it is to do with the gatherings of people, maybe due to empowerment funds, as the case has been? We have seen ministers going around. I'm not going to hide. We have seen PF ministers going around in the name of empowering, and huge groups have been gathering. We have not heard any words from the Minister of Health as regards to COVID. Neither have we heard any words from any of the NGOs that are concerned about the health of the people. Now, that is what makes people now conclude that the reason why ECZ was mentioning this, it is because it was a planned move already, knowing that the Patriotic Front has been going around already. They've done their campaign, they've done their projects, they've done their empowerment, they've distributed meal, they've distributed monies and so in huge crowds. They did not talk about COVID. Why talk about COVID today? Now, that is where the media needs to come in. The media needed to put to task now the Minister of Health, because obviously for ECZ to make that pronunciation, that there should have been stakeholders engagement, and Ministry of Health should have been part. Political parties should have been part. To say we are going to hold elections at a time when there is high transmission of COVID. Did the Minister of Health tell the nation that we have an increased number of COVID patients in the country? Neither we have a huge number of deaths in the country. The minister did not say anything at all, meaning that it was under control. Now, why is it now that they are not able to talk about the new normal? You have talked about countries that have held elections. We are all doing what we can under the new normal. But now with us, we are forgetting about the new normal, and we are saying there are no rallies. Yet schools have continued. Markets, look at markets. Don't you have gatherings in the markets, in the bus stations? So that does not make sense. And this is where I'm actually challenging the media to come and ask the Minister of Health, how serious are we with COVID? Are we going to use COVID to stop opposition political parties from campaigning? That being the case, we will now find that the majority of the Zambian people will not believe that there is COVID, even when it does exist. So I want to say that COVID does exist. We are living in the new normal, but ECZ has not been fair. I want to ask, did they consult political parties as stakeholders? They did not. Minister of Health, did they say anything?
At least according to their statement, they said there was wide consultation.
Come again?
I'm saying, according to their statement, they did actually state that after a wide consultation, they came up with the final statements, they say we may not have to hold these physical rallies and these big physical gatherings.
Now that is a thank you so much. A wide consultation with who? Where marketeers consulted, where political parties consulted, where the churches consulted, where the youth consulted, where women consulted, so that a decision that was going to be made was going to be agreed by all stakeholders. If that was the case, we would not be talking about what I'm talking about today. But I feel that ECZ now is not being fair. And this is what is going to make now people of Zambia truly believe that COVID-19 does not exist when it does really exist. We have been living in the new normal, like we've seen huge gatherings, my dear, which the PF themselves have been parading. But nobody has talked about COVID. Everybody has been quiet, not even the Minister of Health. How come today we are banning political rallies, knowing too well that is the only time that political parties are able to sell their manifestos, market their candidates, so that a voter can make a well-informed choice. Now, that being the case, it simply means that we are supposed to turn to the media today, community radio stations. But now, again, the question is, how free are the media in this country? How free is ZNBC to feature the president of Socialist Party, to feature the president of NGC, to feature the president of UPNG, to feature the president of MMG? How free are these leaders on ZNBC, which today you are saying is the only way that we can reach the people, or the community radio stations? The state of the media, really, of course, would have depended on the media as a very, very important factor in this case. But now the media are not free. So
Okay,
how are
Madam,
we going to
I want to
make them make a well-informed decision?
I want you to hold your thought there. You may offload the entire conversation. Some of the questions ahead of us, but thank you for the reaction. I'll go to Nalichewo. February, welcome on the program. Yeah, we had a few challenges, but we're glad to have you back. I'll go to Nalichewo. Now, I'm aware that you work with a movement that has a focus on young people, and you do a lot of grassroots mobilization, and it has been one of the key players in how you have been able to raise numbers for fellow young people and also the women at heart. And I'm also aware that during these engagements, you do engage a lot with women. With the pronouncement that was made yesterday by Mr. Shindano, I know that most of us, we eventually have to turn to the media as our new ally to do these elections. What is your reaction to that pronouncement, and how do we think it's going to affect the women, especially in particular, knowing that you do very serious engagements with the grassroots?
For me, Mumbi, it wasn't a welcome move because this is a political year, and we are all aware that politics is a grassroots game. How are people supposed to mobilize numbers? How are people supposed to gather their supporters if they are not on the ground, if they do not hold those rallies? It is going to be a very tricky year for the youth candidates because we have a lot of youth aspiring candidates this year, and this is when they are getting to feel the touch of the ground and them being told they are not able to hold such rallies, not able to mobilize their numbers according to how we have planned out our grassroots campaigns as a movement. It is a very disturbing. We actually received it as a very disturbing news, because how are we supposed to go out and campaign for our fellow young people, for the women? You know, it means the other political parties or the other politicians have an upper hand because they have been on the ground more than these aspiring candidates. So it wasn't a welcome move from me.
Okay. Thank you very much, Nalichewo. I'm glad I'm hearing it from someone who does grassroots mobilization all the time. I want to bring in Favorite. So the interesting part about Favorite is that she is an adopted candidate for Chiengi, and she's a young female. If my information that I have so far are right, this is the first time you are participating in the general elections as a person aspiring for a position. So fair to say this is the first time you are getting on the ground, and this is the first news we get from you. You're also aware that you obviously have to run to the media eventually to make yourself known to your people. How are you taking this news so far?
The news is quite disturbing. It is indeed quite disturbing because it is not something that we expected as politicians. Yes, it's something that we did not expect. Of course, we have to adhere to the guidelines of the Ministry of Health. But at such a time that this thing has come, it's quite crucial for us, and the message that we received from the Electoral Commission of Zambia has not been welcome, because we have seen that the ruling government, the PF government, has been conducting rallies. I think even from the time that we started experiencing COVID, they have been conducting rallies without even adhering to the guidelines of the Ministry of Health of the COVID prevention. So the message that we have received from ECZ has just been a shock for me personally, and I don't really know how we are going to campaign. So it's really shocking for me. It's quite shocking.
Okay, an interesting reaction from there. I'm not going to give my opinion. I'm not going to give my opinion. But one thing I've also accepted is that we must all observe the COVID-19 rules, and we must take in all measures possible to ensure that we do not make the situation worse. But also we must observe the rules of democracy. And as long as there's no level playing field, it's always going to become a difficult task. But I don't think so far we can make that claim if we have the media right now. And I know that political parties are also key players in how we are going to influence the media itself. Now, I want this reaction to come from Madam Ruth Dante. You hold an interesting position in your political party, and that is media. And I think so far from the adoptions that we've seen, of course, even if it's not yet done, we've seen that quite low numbers of females have been adopted from the UPND, and we always have complaints about how women do not usually get a fair chance to do their campaigns. And now there's this news. I would want to get from you, does the UPND have any plan about how they are going to level the playing field for the males and the female folks, especially when it comes to the media coverage?
Yeah, I want to say congratulations to a number of women that have been adopted. It's good that on the panel we've invited a youth parliamentary candidate all the way from Mapula province. Congratulations, Favorite. We also have seen women coming up in Western province. I'll give an example of Mwandi. Mwandi has adopted 2 females. So PFS has a female and UPNG as a female. To me, really, that is good, because we are seeing a number of women now coming in and putting pressure on the gender stereotypes and putting pressure on the gender coverage, where now we are going to see media having to feature or cover women. Now, I understand as a party, we would want to thank NGOCC and Women Lobby, that apart from some of the trainings that we're conducting ourselves, the in-house trainings that we're conducting ourselves, especially to those that were showed interest of contesting, We had our women actually participating in workshops that were also held by Women's Lobby, I think in conjunction with the NGOCC, to try to prepare women in understanding the media, to make them understand the role of the media and know that the media was actually a very, very important tool they were going to use to try to sell themselves, to try to convey their message, to try to convey what they wanted to do for their voters. Now that is on the side of NGOCC. Now with us, if you have seen of late that we have been having many youths accompanying our leaders when they go on radio to try to make them acclimatize or get used to the studio. Radio Phoenix has featured many of our candidates. Radio Tengelo on the Copper Belt has featured many of our candidates. We also have Yangeni Radio in Rapula, which has featured many of our candidates, including Radio Man, and just to mention a few. So that is what we have been doing, trying to make our candidates get used to media and even to building relationships themselves with the media without us. So that's where I think to date we are very sure that our candidates will be able to use the media because they understand the role of the media. But like I put it, that even in our in-house training, we're able to tell them that there comes a time when you cannot use the community radio. Yes, they do understand that community radio is very, very important because people living in that area are glued to community because that is their platform, which carries their issues, which carries their voices. But the problem that we were talking about was that there comes a time when you will not be able to use media because you are an aspiring from an opposition political party, which has been treated as being anti-government. And sometimes this has even gone to the media or to the radio station that has tried to give you a platform. What then do you do? We've been talking about messages. Right now they have messages. We have provincial messages. We have taught them how to craft their messages. What is it that they should say when they meet their people? Is it on the road? Is it in the markets? Is it when they're at church? Is it when they're doing the door-to-door? So that is actually how we have prepared our candidates. And like I said, the most important thing I think that we need to know also is that we have prepared our candidates, knowing too well that the time will come that we will not be able to use community radio station, and we may remain with the social media. So right now, our candidates know you are going to see a lot of Facebook pages for our candidates opening up, so that when the government again gets onto community radio, they will switch on to social media. Again on social media, we've prepared our candidates. There may come a time that we may get into Uganda and we may not be able to use Facebook page. So they are ready for it. They know how to do one-to-one talk. They will take advantage of every opportunity that they have in the community to try to sell themselves and to try to sell their message. So that is what we have done as the UPND, because we know where this is heading to. Banning campaign rallies, slowly gag the media, slowly social media. Social media will be help the Uganda tribe. So we are ready for it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Madam Imbola, thank you for joining us back. I hope you now feel how I felt. I continued with my job while you were away. Quickly, you've come in at a very interesting time when we're talking about the involvement of political parties. I saw the list of the candidates that of the parties rather that have filled in candidates this year. I felt bad that I didn't see your name there because I thought I was going to see you as the second woman aspiring candidate, aspiring presidential candidate. But away from that, a quick one before you even answer the second question. Are we going to see NDC members contesting for a particular position, even if we haven't seen the presidential candidate being filled in?
Well, yes. As NUC, I think even before our former president left, Dr. Tisimba Kambwili, we had already decided that we're not going to fill in a presidential candidate. We're only going to fill in the MPs, mayors, council chairpersons, and councillors. We had already decided that. So even when I became president of the party, I was already in the mood of not fielding a presidential candidate as a party, but just going flat out from MP level all the way down. The only thing though that has changed is that I was aspiring myself to be a candidate for Kapyue, and now that I'm president of the party, I'm feeling like I've got a bigger responsibilities. So I'm failing to make up my decision. In fact, I'll make up my final decision tomorrow, because when I said that I won't stand because of the new responsibilities, others again are saying, no, it's important just to go to parliament for the sake of experience and blah, blah, blah. You have experience in these other things in terms of the politics, but parliament also is another place where you should have experience. So I was more like conflicted for a while, but I'm 99% not wanting to stand. And the other issue is this, I'll be very honest with you, campaigns are very expensive in this country. I don't have the money. Just from the nomination fees, they're very high. You get into campaigns, they're very high. You get the point, And it's not that I don't have a 13.5 to go and pay the nomination, but the little 13.5 or 14p I have in my account, I would rather buy other things for my family. I don't have to be so much pressured by an electoral process which is so highly commercialized. So for a woman, really, it's very, very expensive. So I've been feeling that if a woman like myself who is in town, I am feeling like this to say I should not even stand because it's too expensive. What of the elections themselves? The election itself, how is it going to be? So imagine how the rural woman is feeling. You get the point. So that is the thing to begin with. In terms of elections, definitely I am not standing. One presidential candidate is definitely out. Even the deadline is already over. But for MP, I'm still consulting. And like I said, I only have about 2-3 days to make a decision. And I know that by tomorrow, I'll make a final decision. But most likely, if everything has to do with me alone, then I'm certainly not standing. But there are a few people that are giving me a little bit of pressure. So by tomorrow, I'll be able to give you a definite answer.
Okay, interesting.
And having said that, I've forgotten.
I hope we're going to, by tomorrow, we should prepare our t-shirts and the support. I can see the women here. Everyone is hoping that this will be that you'll be with us. We wouldn't want to see the numbers reducing in as much as we have different opinions. But with that, let's have a follow-up question. Do you feel the media is going to be a space enough to cover up the new competition that's coming in? Because we know that this is going to be business, not only for media houses, but any other one that's doing any publications, because media is going to be our new ally. Of course, before that, we had the grassroots as our allies, but now things must change. Many things that we use that we can say may, to some extent, be less of an amount, unfortunately may not be allowed, such as community activities, because these we know that gather big numbers. What happens to us is the media space and enough space to accommodate the competition, especially when it comes to women, because we know that this is going to come with a lot of expenditures.
When it comes to politics, just like an audience in marketing, you always have to segment your audience. There's a way that you have to campaign in the rural areas and the way that you have to campaign in town. Just like for me, like I said, I've been an aspiring candidate for Kapyue for a while. There's a way that I campaign in the 4 wards in the rural place of Kapyue, and there's a way that I campaign in the remaining 14 wards in the outskirts, So really always have to segment your audience and see, okay, here in terms of media, what really should I do, And I'd like to say that having heard the pronouncement yesterday, which, by the way, at first it came that ECZ has banned, and then later on, ECZ has discouraged. So even now, I don't know if ECZ has banned us as political parties, or they have discouraged us as political parties. Because if they have banned us, it means that we don't have a choice but not to do it. But if they have discouraged us, it means maybe we're not discouraged enough. We still go ahead with the campaigns. You get the point? So we still have to be clear with that. So and coming back to that, with public rallies, it is the only sure way to ensure that you take your message across. You know, for me, I am so scared of the media these days because the Zambian media has become so biased. You get the point? You have to read maybe, let's say, 3-4 papers to know what the truth is. You have to watch 3-4 stations to know what the truth is. People have taken sides. You know, the media houses have taken sides. So I don't want to be misrepresented. So the only way I'm going to put my point across is if I say something myself. You know, there used to be a lot of professionalism. I'm sure Ruth can tell you to say at the time she was a full-time as a media personnel. They had those strict media ethics whereby if I call you Mumbi and you tell me something about Ruth, I have to call her and balance the story. You know, but these days there's so much of after talking to Mumbi, I called Ruth and the phone was off. They won't even call Ruth. You know, they are so biased in such a way that they pick side and they stick to that. Even when the truth is out there, they are not interested. Investigative journalism is just no longer there. You know, it's very, very few media houses that you really appreciate what is going on. So for me, the media is something that really, really scares me. We do have a lot of good media houses and a lot of good journalists, but they have really, really been infiltrated. You know, so this is something that I think even the media regulatory bodies have to take a keen interest in. Even IBA has to take a keen interest in. We're not saying that the media has to be gagged, you know, but the media has to be responsible. You know, I think I mentioned even last time to say, even in politics, to say that for democracy to thrive, you need a free, fair, and responsible media. In a political class, the issue of the responsibility of the media is something very, very significant and something very, very critical. Because the media can be free and fair, but if it's not responsible, it won't know its role in terms of a democracy. You know, so in a democratizing nation like Zambia, we need to understand that the media plays that big role. You know, so even when there are political fights, the media is supposed to be the referee. But what we have seen in Zambia is that the media gets into the ring. If today I'm fighting with Ruth, at some point I won't even know if I'm fighting with Ruth or I'm fighting with the media station. You get the point? The media station will have a bigger fight with me than Ruth herself. They'll be highly opinionated. You know, they won't get the truth. They won't investigate. Whatever it is that they can get to me, they'll do that. So with that, it becomes very, very scary to depend on the media to take information out there. So having said that, yet again, as a candidate, I need to know my audience very well and segment it. I gave you an example of Kafue. Kafue has both rural and urban. So with that, I know, okay, here I'm going to be on social media, I'm going to be on radio, I'm going to be on TV. That is for the urban side. When I'm in the rural places, I know that word of mouth is the most critical way to communicate my message. So who do I talk to? Who are the influentials in that community? If I say this to Mumbi, who else is she going to talk to? So I do that. Meetings, who do I meet? You get the point. So that is exactly how it is. So having said that, these are the strategies, again, that we need to give to the women out there. If you're going to campaign in this place and that place, this is how you handle your situation. In terms of the media, these are the people that you talk to. You know, media houses, okay, which media is listened to here? What other factors are going to play in terms of your message being heard? The traditional leaders in the place, what exactly is there? You get the point. And I'll give you another thing without really giving away my strategy. Kafue is both a political and a traditional kind of place. You know, you need to know who the administrative leaders are in terms of politics and in terms of traditional leaders. So all those things are things which are very, very important. And candidates need to know their areas very, very well. Because if they don't, trust me, it's not only the media, but the medium that they need to use to make sure that their message is gotten across whatever it is, or whatever it is that they want to say out there.
Okay, Mr. White, thank you very much for that submission. Favorite, you are in a rural area, and this is a very, very, very typical rural area. Since we've actually been corrected that the ECZ in fact discouraged, are you willing to go against the laws or against the measures, the COVID-19 measures, to take your message across?
Sorry, Sorry, the network was breaking. I didn't really get your question.
Just nod your head if you hear me correctly. Can you hear me right now? Am I clear enough?
Please. I cannot
It's not working.
hear you.
Ah.
Yes.
Okay, let's
breaking.
let me just excuse you for this one because I can tell that the network is pretty bad. Well, we'll try to sort it out. But I want the same question to go to Madam Ruth Dante. Are you now telling us that you are going to go against the rules, or you are going to go against the advice that has been given by the Ministry of Health? Since now we just have been discouraged, especially that you are the biggest political party in the country. Did you get the question? Okay. Guess what happened?
Just repeat. I didn't get. I didn't get. There's some squeaky sound.
Okay. Am I audible enough now?
Yes, yes.
Oh, yes. So I was asking to say you are the second biggest political party in the country. Are you now telling us that you are going to some extent have to disregard the advice of the Ministry of Health as well as the ECZ, since now it's turned out that they just discouraged, if at all media doesn't come in as the utmost solution?
I think you are aware that the United Party for National Development respects the rule of law. And this is a party whose focus is on the well-being of the citizens of Zambia. That is why our vision, actually the vision for our president, Hakainde Hichilema, is making life better. So meaning that we do recognize that there is COVID among us, or there is COVID in the environment where we are supposed to campaign. We will not go against, but I think we'll make it clear that if government does recognize that there is COVID, it will just be fair for government also to ensure that they create a conducive environment where people, the citizens of Zambia, are going to abide by the rules, by the health measures as regards to the SI. Now, the question I would ask is, will banning of rallies reduce the transmission of COVID-19? Will it? Remember, it is campaign time. COVID can be transmitted by one person to many people that they get in contact with, not only in a public rally. Of course, the truth is that in a public rally, transmission will be very fast because of the distance in between the people. But now we are saying we will only allow door to door. Imagine I'm infected. I'll visit a house and talk to those people, sell my message to them. I am actually in contact with the people at that house. Either I will get COVID in that house. Has government taken government taken note of that? You can't say no rallies, small meetings, but you are not talking about facilitating that people will have. Now we are going to see the Ministry of Health, or Social Welfare and Community Development, or local government coming in now sensitizing people on the importance of wearing masks, observing social distance, sanitizing. Are we going to see the ministry distributing masks to people that will be moving one and one? Or they think that because there will be no rallies, it is business as usual? That is our argument. So we are not, as UPNG, we're not saying that we will actually still go ahead. We are not going to go ahead. But what we are saying is that, can we be serious and not use the pandemic to gag other opposition political parties, because we know that we have already campaigned ourselves. We have already dished a meal. We have already given bicycles. Now, that is a notion that as UPNG we are concerned about. We want the people of Zambia to believe that indeed COVID does exist. Indeed, COVID does kill the people. Indeed, COVID can be transmitted, but at the same time, you can prevent COVID transmission by doing this and that. But no, they are not talking about that. They are only talking about banning. So as UPNG are saying, yes, you're banned, but the people will still be moving up and down. And believe you me, there will still be groups of people gathering. This is campaign time. People will be gathering in the markets. People like Savoy did say she has been moving in the rural area, because I know that she was campaigning in Kafue. Rural area. We are seeing 2 or 3 people now. Maybe one is COVID from Lusaka, going now into the rural area. Now transmitting COVID from one place. Have they considered that? That is what yes, we are going to obey that. But we also want to challenge government. Don't just ban rallies. Provide the masks. Provide sanitizer. Who is going to be monitoring? Who is going to be monitoring? I asked you a question. Remember, who did they consult? Did they consult the local government, the owners of the people in Watts, where we are going to campaign? Did they? Is local government involved? Are the councillors involved? Are the ward residential committees, those residential committees that we have, are they involved? So what is it really? What is it? So to us, the use of banning of rallies is just a highly political. It is very fake. But remember, because they're using COVID, we'll say, okay, we'll go by it. We will not gather in rallies. But I think we need to get serious. This is why the people of Zambia believe that there is no COVID. Because now you are banning rallies. Yesterday you were giving
to hold your thoughts there. Please don't forget that this conversation is here to highlight the challenges about women as well as the successes, and looking at the period we're in. It's an election year. Campaigns have commenced. How are we going to see our women be able to campaign? What roles will the political parties play to ensure that women get a fair coverage as males? Now, Mnadishevu, the interesting part about you guys is that you are grassroots, and now you are not going to be allowed. What is next? What is next for the young people of Zambia, especially the women? What is next when it comes to their campaigns, since the grassroots invite gatherings, and this has been highly discouraged by ECZ?
So the young people and the women in particular need to follow the health guidelines and be strict about the COVID thing and what's not. But then we are also encouraging our young people to go door-to-door campaigns. They should not stop now. If they have been adopted, let them go ahead and fight for their position. We're also encouraging the young people to make posters and unveil their manifestos to the general public and make it easy to understand, especially in rural setup. We do not want to take the kind of English that is used by lawyers to the rural parts of the country. So we want the young people to really explain well on their manifestos so that it is easy to understand. And we're also encouraging door-to-door campaigns.
Just before you proceed with your thoughts, you're saying something interesting. You are encouraging young people to take in other measures such as posters and other materials that they can use to transfer their message. Now, this throws us back to an expense, and particularly when we begin to talk about women, a conversation of how financially incapable they find themselves in such cases are. We know that these are many cases. So I want you to give the advice in consideration with that problem in particular when it comes to women. And also, please just keep your response short, because we are already running out of time. We started a bit late, so we may not have to continue the conversation as much as we would want.
Mumbi, as Madame Savoy stated earlier, campaigns are really expensive. We are seeing a lot of aspiring candidates, the big fish, I would want to call them, distribute materials. And here's a woman like Savoy with who has never served in any high official position. She does not have that kind of money to buy the whole community mealie meal, to print out T-shirts, buy chitenges and whatnot. It is going to be very difficult. But for people that are able to do T-shirts and do posters, we are encouraging them to unveil their message, their manifestos to the public on time and make it very easy to understand. Yeah.
Okay, Nalisha, I'm going to ask you this one last question, and this question will be answered by everyone, but I want you to be the first one to answer it. How then should women, what effort should women put in to ensure that they get the necessary media coverage? And this is a question that I would want all of us to answer. It's the last question, and you must end it with a message to women about the media, or an alternative that they must take during this election while observing the COVID measures that have been advised by the Ministry of Health.
Mumbi, in the first place, I wanted to state that the media is not a space enough for the aspiring candidates, because we have seen the media being biased at some point. We cannot send Madam Ruth Dante to ZNBC to explain, or rather try to gain supporters from ZNBC because of her political affiliate. So it is going to be hard for even aspiring candidates that are aspiring in the rural parts, because there are places like in Eastern Province, there's an area that I visited, Mutizwa village. Once you go there, there's no radio connection there, there's no media coverage there. How then is the councillor that is contesting in that area supposed to gain media coverage? It is going to be very difficult, but this is a point that the young people and the women need to choose their active allies in these areas. Let us look for people that can help us mobilize and campaign and just spread out the message and try to get everyone to support us. Yes, Mumbi.
Madam Savoy, the same question.
For me, I think the women also have to be taught how to engage with the media way before elections, so that by the time the elections come up, at least they already have that kind of relationship with the media, because normally you'd find that the media will call you for several engagements. I appear on TV, radio myself several times. You get the point. To the point whereby when it's campaign time and the media put up all these expensive packages, you find that just the free appearances, I'm overwhelmed by that. Even now, a lot of media houses are coming to me and they're saying, oh, we've got this package and that package. And I joke with them and I say, to be honest with you, just the free media appearances, I'm failing to meet them because they are too much. You get the point. So by the time it's campaign time, I still have so many media engagements to the point whereby I don't have to pay for anything, So it's very, very important also to do that. And then also for me, the best campaign or the best media that any candidate, especially an MP, has is the councillors. You get the point. As an MP, you need to have councillors in all the wards, because the councillors, by law, they're supposed to reside in the various wards. So you make sure that they're there where they are supposed to be. So with that, now you start now exposing them to the media themselves. But of course, people come into politics at different levels. There are people, for example, an aspiring candidate, a woman at maybe MP level or councillor level, who has never ever had any engagement with the media, who doesn't know anyone. She doesn't know Mumbi. She doesn't know Magzirgone from ZNBC. She doesn't know anyone. You get the point. So those women, now you have to teach them to say, how do you engage with the media? Yeah, you get the point. So political parties have a role to play. The media teams of the political parties now have to make sure that they engage the media houses and expose their candidates, and more especially the female candidates. But to be honest with you, it's actually something that should start way before the elections. Not whereby by the time the elections are coming and then you're more like pushing the women to say, get into the media, do this and do that. It's not easy. It's not easy. So these, like many other things, you need to plan way ahead before the actual campaign time comes up.
Madam Dante, the same question to you as well. Please unmute your mic. We still can't hear you, Madam Dante. Unmute your mic.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, I was saying that whilst the media now is a cornerstone, is actually one way in which a candidate, especially a female candidate, is able to reach out to thousands of the voters within an hour. I think we would still want to ask or appeal to political parties, because during campaign time, it is very, very rare that media houses will give you a free time. You know, every time now is charged. But like Savoy said, are we going to see many of our women being able to buy their own airtime? Practically impossible. So that is where political parties, like our political party, when we buy airtime like today, we have a media schedule where we want to ensure that we have equal number of female candidates and male candidates appearing on the radio station. But still, I want to say that whilst media is the only cornerstone, and we are also seeing our media trying by all means, going by the 50-50 representation, also trying by all means to bring in women. I think we still want to appeal, especially to IBA, to ensure that media houses, journalists are safe to feature women. Remember that women are not like men. Men are able to go and talk about what they think and what is nothing. But a woman will go and talk about issues that are affecting the people in their words, issues that are affecting the environment. And today, such kind of a person who brings out problems and says, I am here, vote for me because I want to carry your voice. Vote for me because I want to ensure that what government has not been able to do, I will ensure that they will look at it as being negative. And it is during that time that maybe Savoy says, we see media coming in and getting into the ring. Because it will make a journalist, I'm telling you, uncomfortable of any negatives that is going to be said against government. So our appeal is to IBA, Madam Jocelyn Makoma, to ensure that since women will entirely depend on media, please let's ensure that journalists now across the country, especially in rural areas, community radio stations, are free to feature our people. But lastly, I want to say, nationally, I see Zambians, especially women, wanting someone, who looks like them, speaking for them. And to me, really, already Savoy is a president. I'm so certain with such happenings that the future is actually female. And I'm seeing this election actually being a game changer. Even here where we are, we already have a youngster, Pepperite, being a parliamentary candidate. So this indeed is going to be a game changer for women participation, especially at parliamentary and the local government level. But lastly, I want to still appeal to the women that remember when we are there, we are saying vote for women because with us, we talk about real issues. Let's go politics. Let's do politics, but our politics could be there to make people's lives better. Because sometimes I've seen women, sorry to say, women forgetting about people and now siding with the view of their political parties, even when it does not improve or touch on people's life. That is one thing we need to change. But I'm very certain that we are going to see women now talking about issues, because the women that have been in the last parliament and the local government, I think they have learned a lesson. So to meet all the women contesting, I want to say congratulations. Whether you are PF, whether you are UPNG, whether you are FPT, I want to say congratulations. Please, women want to hear your voice. The future is female. Thanks.
Thank you very much, ladies, for joining us. That was an interesting conversation. And it will be injustice if I leave the program without congratulating all the adopted women. We still want to see you to come up in more numbers. I'm still hoping that by tomorrow, Madam Savoy will announce her candidature of the Kafue parliamentary seat. We are
Yeah,
all,
she should.
we are all
We're looking forward
She
to
should.
that.
Huh?
to our lovely viewers that joined us, thank you very much for sharing your time with us and for discussing this program. Remember, this is a program that's brought to you by PAGS, and today's discussion was a role of the media in promoting women's leadership. Until next week, same time, same place, it's goodbye from us. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.